If your business just broke the seven-figure annual goal, but you find yourself carrying a quiet weight internally, you're feeling tense and stressed, this video is for you. See, you're more than likely productive, responsible, capable. Otherwise, you wouldn't have built what you've built already. But something feels off. It's out of alignment. Nothing is wrong with you. This is common for leaders at this growth stage, especially leaders who care deeply. And it's not because you're weak. It's not because you are not capable. And it's not because you lack discipline. See, what's typically happening is you are missing a key ingredient. What's happening is something much deeper than another strategy or another tactic. And if this remains unnamed, you'll keep carrying the same pressure year after year as things grow, feeling the weight getting heavier and heavier. This is not about doing more. It's simply about leading differently. And most leaders, they don't drift because they stop trying. Now see, they drift because leadership becomes something accidental. Pressure increases, responsibility grows, decisions stack up, and without realizing it, you stop choosing who you're becoming. You start to react. You adapt to the day-to-day, and we're so good at doing that as humans. You carry what's not yours. Leadership stops being intentional and starts being shaped by urgency. Clients, teams, fires. Can you start to relate? And when identity isn't chosen first, pressure always fills the gap. That's why I created the identity-led leadership audit. Now, this is not a personality test. This isn't not another performance review. This is not a goal-setting exercise. It's simply a mirror. It'll help you slow down so you can see what's really running underneath your leadership. So here's what that looks like. We begin number one with looking at your identity and source of power. Now, this is the beginning of a really transformative journey because it exposes where your leadership has been sourced from identity versus self-effort. This is where worth, subtly attached to outcomes, create pressure. And as this pressure starts to grow, it defines who you are. Meaning, when you have less, you feel like you're less. When you're not growing as fast, you feel like you're not good enough. From there, we go into presence and decision quality. This evaluates how present you've actually been. How present, or the lack of it, has impacted clarity, relationships, execution, which ultimately leaves the bottom line. Not how busy you were, how available you were. This is where you start to recognize that maybe right now, speeding up is not the problem. Doing more is not what you need, is actually slowing down. Next, we take a look at the role imbalance. And in a role imbalance, this happens really subtly in relationships and work because we start to take on things that are not ours. As we start to explore our role imbalance, you're going to start to reveal what leadership roles you've been overusing and which you've been neglecting. Because imbalance always affects sustainability. If you are not balanced with who you are, you're going to be caught off guard. It's like riding a bike. If you're not in balance, you know what happens. You can't sustain being on the bike. Imagine at a leadership level, as you're growing consistently, more people coming on board, more customers, more clients, more systems, more processes. If you are not intentional about keeping yourself in balance, this is gonna affect your personal sustainability. And over time, one role will drain you if the others are not developed. Number three, energy and stewardship. It audits whether growth has been supporting you or whether it's taking from you. Whether your calendar has reflected your values or pressure from the external world. Comparison, shoulds, woulds. It looks at whether leadership was sustainable or quietly costing you too much, leaving you to a place of not sustainability, pressure, and stress. Next, courage, truth, and leadership edge. Now, this starts to reveal where leadership growth was resisted. What conversations did you delay in having? What decisions have you avoided up until now? What's that truth that you sensed, but you haven't acted upon yet? Because avoidance compounds quietly, and things don't just go away, conversations don't dissipate, and when you leave things like this uncommunicated within a team, it starts to kill performance because there's no longer harmony. Next, faith integration and alignment. Now, this ensures your faith is the source of your leadership, not something you do to the side. This is not something you turn to for comfort, but something that is shaping real-time decisions. When you learn to partner with God in your business, you're going to be able to not carry everything on your own. It's going to give you a new level of space and peace and clarity so that decisions are no longer these heavy weights that have this massive impact. They will still have that. However, you're now leading from a different place of alignment to a much bigger picture. And when you can really partner with God on this, because He put something in your heart, otherwise you wouldn't build this up until now. Building a business is not an easy thing. So you've taken the time, you've taken the effort, and you've done what you've done up until now, maybe on your own. Imagine what could do if you could have access to unlimited resources. Imagine what could happen if you could walk throughout your day-to-day from a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that goes beyond what is happening externally, how much money they would make this month, who is performing better than the other, instead, full-on surrender. And finally, because yes, results are important, we take a look at the results. What's the fruit? What's the legacy? This is really important because sometimes as we're building a business, we don't start to really, as it's growing so quickly, we don't stop to assess what is this growth actually doing? Because sometimes, maybe you've seen it for yourself, as things grow really fast, you're going to start to see that some of the things you're building are actually empty. So this is a process where you separate what is the meaningful fruit outcomes versus what is the empty success. What actually mattered? Who became better because you led them? What wasn't worth the cost? This is an important place where you start to recognize that there's a new distinction to be made, leading us into next year's alignment decisions. This is where we take the reflection and we actually embody leadership with it. This is not about insight, not about intention, but this is real alignment decisions that shape how you are going to now lead in this next year ahead. Like I begin this is not about fixing yourself. It's simply about choosing your leadership on purpose. It's about generating who you choose to be on a daily basis. Because if you don't do that, your automatic responses are going to come into the picture. And next thing you know, you're going to be operating the same way you were last year, just with much more weight on your back. See, this level of leadership does not form in isolation. This is why my focus, my commitment, my purpose is to help leaders that are growing and expanding to really integrate from a level of identity. Because from identity, you're going to then be able to take on new actions. You're never going to be able to perform higher than what your identity is. So you need to consistently focus much more on who you are becoming, the traits, the skills, the character traits, instead of what more do I need to do. This is not about adding more strategy, more tactics. This is about taking away and realigning. This is why I built the school community. This is a space for leaders who want depth, not noise. There's too much noise out there. Inside, what you'll find is a full identity-led leadership process. The audit that we're going through right now, the audit that I'm speaking on, you're going to be able to download it, no cost to you. This is, again, for you to now put into practice. In the school community, we expand on teachings just like this. We go much deeper understanding what actually drives our behavior. Because sometimes we do things that we know we shouldn't do, and then we find out questioning, why do we do them? Other times, we find ourselves totally activated, meaning we're not even rational with what we're saying, only to find that a month later, what we said that we're totally unconscious of is still in one of your team members' space, leaving them to be disengaged, not moving as much as they could. We're going to take a look at guided reflection and integration process because, again, it's not about more noise. You don't need more information. In the world that we're living in, information is abounding and it's limitless. It's available at our fingertips. What we need, however, is integration and application. We need to take real-time, in-the-moment practice of what we're learning, utilizing it so we can actually, instead of being confronted by reactions, we can instead choose to respond. That's what the school community is for. It's a community of leaders that are choosing to grow intentionally, not striving, not performing, not proving, simply becoming. If you're done leading by default and you're ready to lead intentionally, I invite you to join the school community. This link is right down below. No pressure, no urgency. All simply this is, it's bringing you clarity so you can step into a new level of formation and alignment, so you can step into that next level of leadership. This is not, yet again, not about doing more. This is frankly about leading differently. See you next time.